What is the scariest, strangest, most unexplainable thing that has happened to you while home alone? About 15 years ago I was trying to sleep when my ex got out of bed to get ready for work. He would sometimes do a workout before a shower, but for some reason he decided to do his workout in the bedroom. I was really tired and tried to keep sleeping. I hadn't opened my eyes yet. But his breathing was getting really heavy and raspy and I was unable to get back to sleep. His breathing was so heavy and weird I got so mad. I turned over and opened my eyes to tell him to shut up, only to find nobody in the room. The breathing suddenly stopped and I got a chilling feeling. Then I stepped out to find he had been upstairs in the shower. Many years ago, when my now 28-year-old daughter was still an infant, me, her, and our dog were at the apartment we were living in at the time. My wife was at work, I was sitting on the couch watching TV, my daughter was asleep on a blanket pallet on the floor, and the dog, a German Shepherd, Wolf hybrid mix, was about 10 feet away laying in the doorway between our kitchen and the living room area. At any rate, I was watching whatever it was that I was watching when all of a sudden, Thor, our dog, starts with this low-level, guttural growling. I figured that he had heard someone in another apartment or walking by through the parking lot and don't think much of it. As a few seconds pass, I notice that it's getting louder and I can see out of the corner of my eye that he has lifted his head up off his paws, his ears are perked, and he's looking up at the ceiling over where my daughter was laying. I look up, don't see anything, tell him to knock it off. Right after I tell him to knock it off, he jumps up, starts circling my sleeping daughter, literally walking around the pallet she's laying on, and growling more and more intensely, even stopping once and outright snarling and snapping his teeth, all while staring up at the ceiling. After about 2 minutes of this, and me having no clue on what to do since I can't see anything and I do not want to reach for my daughter with him circling her like that, he laid down next to my daughter, rested his head on her back, and stayed there for almost an hour, still intently staring up at the ceiling and occasionally growling. To this day, I have no idea what the hell was going on or what he saw, sensed, but it was extremely creepy to me. Was a pizza driver for a while back in college. Did a delivery out to the semi-country area late at night. This was before smartphones, Waze and all that. Of course, the road had no streetlights, so the only light came from people's porch lights, my car's headlights and the full moon. Finally found the right house and delivered the pizza to a sweet little old lady. But when I turned around to walk back to my car, I couldn't help but instantly stop. There was a strange sensation that I wasn't alone. I was being watched, but I looked around and didn't see anything. Of course, it was dark AF, so who knows? I slowly moved toward my car and the feeling didn't go away. It only intensified. It was like I was being watched before, but now I was being hunted or something. I looked around and still couldn't see anything. So, I shrugged, figured I was imagining things and opened my car door when suddenly I heard a clicking sound. Like something was tapping the pavement in the road really fast. I hopped into my car and barely got the door shut when this giant Cujo kind of evil dog jumped at the driver window. He was growling and you could just tell that he wanted a piece of me in a big way. He had drool coming off his mouth, his breath fogged the window and it was like I could feel the reverb of his growling in my chest through the window. It was only after the fact that I realized how close I came to getting the shit mauled out of me, or possibly killed, by some crazy bloodthirsty dog. Postscript: when I got back to the store, half the drivers had heard where I went for the delivery and they asked me about the dog. Turns out, they'd seen him before but nobody thought to warn me about it. One night I wasn't feeling very well and the upstairs had a larger bathroom. Downstairs was an old half bath and I wanted to leave that for her if my wife needed to use it at night, so I figured I might as well sleep in the guest room. My wife did not have a problem with this as she had work early the next day and I was constantly getting out of bed with food poisoning. At some point in the night I awoke to the door slowly creak open and a female voice asking if I was feeling alright. I assumed it was my wife and replied, "Yes honey, I'm fine, see you in the morning." But the door never closed and no footsteps went down the stairs as I would have heard them in this 1800s home, original wood floors and stairs. We were alone in the house that night. One night I had forgotten to lock my apartment door and woke up in the middle of the night. My bedroom door was about 2 feet from my front door, as you walked into the apartment. First a big dog ran by, then a person. Holy shit, I was so scared and I screeched, "Who is it?" A man said, "It's Doug." As I was thinking to myself, "Who the frick is Doug?" he said, "Oh, shit." He turned around to go back out the front door saying sorry. I asked, "Didn't you have a dog with you?" He said, "Oh, yeah. Hey, come on." He left, his dog ran out after him and I locked my front door. I very clearly saw a guy walk into my room. But when I went after him there was nobody there. I checked in the closet, under my bed, everywhere one could hide in my room. Years ago when I was 16 my dog died. He got cancer around his stomach and we had to put him down. I had this dog since I was 8, so for literally half of my life I lived with him. He was a Beagle/Basset Hound mix and was probably the chillest dog you could ever meet. Anyways, when we had to put him down, I was really sad about it and I missed him a lot in the following months, still do. My kitchen had tiled floor and our hallway had hardwood floors, so when he was alive his nails made a very distinct sound on the floors. We also had a small bell tied to his collar for a time so we could hear him if he was getting into stuff. Well, after he passed, when I was home alone I continued to hear the very distinct sound of his nails on the floor and his bell jingling every now and then. At first it really freaked me out, but after the first few times I found it sweet that my little guy was still hanging around. It stopped after a few months and I took that as sign my little man had moved on. Not really scary or unsettling, but it's something I can't explain. We have no other animals and like I said, these noises are very unique. Like I said though, it was nice hearing him around even after he was gone. Not home alone, but upstairs alone. I saw a doppelganger of my mom a few years back, and I think she heard mine. I was sitting in my bed, and looked up when I heard her coming up the stairs. She walked by my door, looking straight at me with no expression, and walked into her room and closed the door. I'd said hi as she walked but figured whatever, she didn't hear me or maybe she was getting something from her room. Then, about 5 seconds later, she yells up the stairs from downstairs and says, "Did you call me?" And I am not ashamed to say I freaked the frick out. She came upstairs, looked down the hall and said, "Did you close my door?" I didn't, and neither did she. She never closed that door because one of our cats primarily lived in her bedroom and so she always kept the door open so the cat could come and go as she pleased. And it wasn't just closed as if the wind had shut it, it was fully closed and the windows were shut. Ma said she had very clearly heard me yell, "Hey mom, come here," from upstairs. I had done no such thing. I'm never entirely sure what I believe and what I don't, but I was totally sober, not tired, and it wasn't some movement out of the corner of the eye thing. In grade 9 my best friend and I were having a sleepover at my house. My parents and younger brother were visiting family so we were home alone. After it was dark outside we started watching a movie. We were laying on separate couches, watching the TV that was situated next to a door frame that leads to the kitchen, bedrooms and basement. In a matter of seconds, I see a feminine figure standing in the doorway, facing me, and for some reason I instinctively said, "Don't leave me." My friend laying on the other couch also saw the figure and said to me, "Don't worry, he'll go away," in a second, thinking it was my younger brother. The figure just faded away, kind of like mist, into the other room. We looked at each other and realized what had just happened, then quickly turned on all the lights and sat on the same couch. We're 28 now. Still have absolutely no idea who or what that was or why I said that, but I still think about it often. Back in high school I'd usually be up all hours of the night playing games. I had a large dog at the time that would sleep in my room at night. It was 2 a.m. and I was finally headed to bed, but my dog wasn't with me, so I ventured out to find him. I made my way across the house to the kitchen/dining room combo. I'm standing in the only door frame that leads to that side of the house. We had an island in the kitchen with a stool that the junk mail was usually kept on. So I walk up, call for my dog, and see him walk from behind the island to behind the dining room table set, knocking all the junk mail down as he did so. I huff and flip on the light, no dog. I freak out, scramble back across the house, and end up finding him in my parents' room. I regale the story the next day to my parents and younger sister, who often claimed to see stuff in the house. My sister pipes up and goes, "Oh, that's the tall black thing. Yeah, sometimes it likes to crawl around on all fours." Big nope. I was in my college apartment and my roommate had just moved out. Her room was directly across from mine with the living room between us. I had cleaned out her room and then closed the door. I left my bedroom door open when I went to take a shower one night. My bathroom was connected to my bedroom. I also happened to leave the bathroom door open. While I was in the shower, I thought I heard a woman talking. I had never been able to hear my neighbors talking before, but figured they just happened to be talking in their bathroom, which shared a wall or something. When I got out of the shower, I was surprised to see a black void when there should have been the bright white closed door of my old roommate's door reflecting in the moonlight. I figured I just forgot to close the door and went and closed it. The next night I once again went to take a shower and left my room and the bathroom door open. But this time I checked to make sure the other door was latched and the front door was double locked. When I came back out I once again saw the void with the door wide open. I slammed my door closed and locked that shit so fast. I convinced myself there was a logical explanation, so the next night I once again checked all of the doors and then closed my bedroom door. This time, I came out of the shower and my bedroom door was open along with the other door. I showered and slept with my bedroom door locked from that point on. I guess this took place over several nights home alone and I may not have even been alone. Still the creepiest thing that ever happened though. I wasn't home alone, but I was awake by myself one Saturday morning in the 80s when I was around 7 or so. I believe my mom was the only one home because my dad went to the lake to go fishing that weekend, and I'm not sure where my older brothers were, maybe they went with him, Ike. Anyways, my mom's sleeping in, and I'm in the living room by myself, watching Saturday morning cartoons and making a fort out of sheets and cushions. Something made me turn around and I saw my dad in his pajamas standing in the hallway entrance with his hands on his hips, looking the mess I was making and shaking his head. He then turned around and walked into my room, which was just off the hallway entrance. Dude. I didn't even look, I just booked it to my parents' room and woke my mom up. I don't remember what happened after that, this was around 35 years ago. And yes, my dad was fine, nothing had happened to him. I wasn't alone, but I was alone if you get my drift. I took care of my mom during her final years with dementia. Every day was hard, but others seemed impossible. On really rough days I'd go into the garage to decompress, smoke pot, cry, rage, scream and sometimes hit trash cans with a baseball bat. Well, one particularly hard day, my mom had smeared feces all over the house. So, I was in the garage sobbing and mumbling incoherently to myself, when I said, out loud, to my previously deceased father, "Dad, I need help, what do I do?" When suddenly the garage door into the house swung open on its own and I went into some kind of trance and was able to clean up the house without having a complete meltdown. I can't explain it, but I'm pretty sure my dad was guiding me through the worst of it all. This happened when I was a kid. I used to sleep with my door closed and I have no idea what time it was, but I had heard my door creak open. When I opened my eyes I could only make out a figure of a strange tall man with a hat and a coat. He just sat on my bed and stared at my door. This went on for a few minutes before he got up and left. I don't have many memories of my childhood, but this one I can relive very well. Not me, but my dad and sister. My sister's room shared a wall with the living room and the couch was against this wall. My dad and stepmom would knock on the wall if they needed something. One night, my sister is doing her homework and hears a knock on the wall, so she shouts, "What?" No answer. This repeats several times before my sister gets pissed and storms into the living room shouting, "What?" The living room was empty as my dad and stepmom had left 30 minutes prior to go on a walk. There was a basement in the house that always made everyone feel uneasy, but it was great for storage. The dogs refused to go down there. My dad was grabbing something from the basement, and while going back up the stairs he had this sudden feeling of dread. The dogs started barking like crazy, so my dad started running up the stairs. When he closed the door at the top, the dogs stopped barking and he felt relief. My sister was home alone and was walking down the 40-ish foot hallway when she heard footsteps behind her. She looked back to see nothing, but when she started walking again the sound started again. She began running and the footsteps picked up the pace as well. She ran out of the front door into a friend's house and refused to be home alone in that house ever again.